Hello, welcome to another Overpaid Over the Bar mini league video special. The game weeks have come thick and fast this week. We've had one completed last night. There'll be another one starting tomorrow. And who better than to look at this with me than the person who probably got me into fantasy football in 2005. It's your friend and mine, Jon Holloway. Jon, how you doing?
I'm very well, actually, and I should say to you, Happy New Year.
Oh, yes. Happy New Year to you. Very much so. Very much
First
so,
time we
John.
see each other, yes. Everything good?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say that our Januaries, the rest of us, they're probably a bit different to yours because it's freezing in Portugal at night and in the morning, like my heating doesn't work properly. It's awful, and England's been under snow. Tell us about your January, John. Make us happy.
Yeah, been a difficult January. As you as you know, and as many people probably don't know, I live in Brazil, so I'm on the opposite side of the earth to you at the moment, and it's summertime, having a good time.
But are you in Brazil right now?
I am in Brazil. I'm in the northeast of Brazil, a place called Bahia, 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 um, which is the kind of like, I don't know, I guess it's the sunny part of Brazil. You probably
I
think
mean,
that,
apart from all the other sunny parts.
yeah, the south where I live isn't actually very sunny, it's quite cold. So we have our
John,
holidays.
I've been there in autumn, and it's like a Portuguese summer. So don't like.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But
but I thought you were planning to go to Argentina. Is that later?
that was my plan. That was my plan. And then changed plans, really.
Okay.
Just thought,
Okay.
oh, there's a lot of driving involved.
Yeah.
Um, my wife's family live up in this corner of the world, so we thought we'd come and visit, spend Christmas and New Year with them, and then go back down to the south at the end of this month.
That's quite a
Uh,
distance as well on its own.
yeah, so it's probably a couple of thousand miles drive. It makes me laugh. It's like driving to Athens or something. Oh, you're going to drive to Cornwall? Oh yeah. Oh, it's 160 miles. So yeah, we're going to drive to Moscow. Oh, so, Brazil's a big country. Everyone knows. Blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And that's why I ended up in the northeast Brazil for the summer. However, have not forgotten about fantasy football. It's my life. It's your life. It's all of our lives. That's why we're here.
I did before we get on to fancy football. I did want to ask you, and I know you're going to hate me for this, but we're trying to imagine what it's like to be a Saints fan this season.
Mm.
I mean, look, you support the club where you grew up, and not many English people do that, and I always respect that. So, whatever happens to Southampton, at least you
Mm.
are following the club that is
Absolutely, absolutely.
your.
This is our year. So there's 17. Was there 17 games to go?
Yep, that's a possible 51 points.
Exactly, and we're looking at Europe because 56, 57 points could be enough for Europe. It's going to happen. Amazing.
It could be Europe. Do you remember the Intertoto Cup? Do you remember that?
Yeah,
That was in the late, I think early 80s, and like anybody played in
yeah,
that. You could have second division teams in that.
exactly. Yeah. Is that what United are aiming for at the moment? I don't know.
I mean, I was driving home from work over the first half on, and the commentators were just going like, Southampton are just turning them over here. And even in the second half, when I watched most of the second half, it was the same. Like, who's the
Yeah.
guy who plays on the left wing? He was electric. What's his name?
So the matter,
Yeah, he was
yeah,
unbelievable.
is unbelievable. They're all unbelievable. The thing is, I know everyone will take the piss, but what happened was this: they went down uh, last season. The idea was to build a youth team of a group of 18, 19-year-olds, your Dibblings and
Downses.
your Downses and your Bellends in defence, and and surprisingly they went up. And I think the idea was to stay down for a year,
Yeah.
build a squad, and come up. But they came up a year too early. They won the playoffs, came
Yeah, yeah,
up,
yeah.
experience, and now they're going to get punished, which is a real shame because actually they're a really nice team, but they just graduated a year too early. And if
But
they come up one season,
the manager who got sacked, remind me his name, please.
Russell Martin.
So he was very unpopular with the fans because of the playing out from the
Mhm.
back obsession.
Mhm.
Um,
Yep.
so are you happy now with happier with the new manager?
Yeah. The thing with Russell Martin was it was about keeping the ball. He thought he was Pep, but he didn't have Pep style players, so he was Pep roulette, etc., etc. But then they
Oh,
didn't have the skills to build out from the back. And now Jilic, this guy now, he's like saying, let's just pump it forward and let's go for it. They're
mm,
down, obviously they're down. However, it's not the worst Southampton team I've ever seen, so I'm okay with
right.
it. Actually, I'm wearing the shirt. I'm like, this is not so bad. I'm actually quite positive.
I haven't seen them wearing that shirt. Have they worn that shirt this season?
Yeah, this is the pink shirt. I got this actually for my 50th. Since I've seen you being 50, hang on.
Oh, oh, there we go.
There you go.
I missed
Uh,
that milestone. I remembered your birthday, but I didn't know you were 50.
yeah, 50. So that's 50 years of pain, really.
Well, no. I mean, are you too young to?
No, one year we were 14th, so that's sorry, no, I'm
Yeah,
exaggerating.
you just missed the 76 FA Cup. You were born just before that or just
It
after?
was 76 was my first memory. That's right.
Okay.
Wasn't
Uh,
really, but one of those enforced memories. Yeah.
Dennis Law passed away today. Yes, which I was. I mean, it came up in the WhatsApp chat about him relegating Manchester United as a Manchester City
Yeah,
player.
as a City player. Yeah, he didn't celebrate the goal, did he?
No, and I was actually there. I should do a video just about this, but I was
Oh,
actually at this game because my mother, bless her, decided when I was 11 that because I was obsessed with Manchester United, which I was until I was about 15, 16. I gave up supporting them when I was 18. Um, she decided that it would be okay for me to join something called the Bridgewater Supporters Club. So we lived in Taunton. We'd moved from Exeter at this time. We lived in Taunton about
she
four.
drove you to Manchester,
No. So a coach left from Bridgewater.
dumped you off.
A coach left from Bridgewater, Somerset every Saturday morning. I mean, every time there was a home game. And I literally went to about 9 games in the, I think probably 6 games in the relegation season and about 8 games in the following year, the promotion season. And you walk, they parked next to Old Trafford Cricket Ground, and we walked to the football ground from there with all the crowd. I usually walked on my own as a 12 or 11-year-old to the stadium. And then on that day, it was at the height of football hooliganism, but you didn't see it very often at Old Trafford because Manchester United had a reputation and people didn't come there to cause trouble because they weren't going to get anywhere. But at half time in that game, the results were going against Manchester United. Norwich were winning. And when the Norwich result half time score came up, there was a pocket of Manchester City fans just below us in the terrace where I was in the posh seats. This is in the corner where they think they still put the seats for the away fans. There was a pocket of Manchester City fans there, right, and then and the fucking whole stadium went deathly quiet. And then at the end of the game, when Law scored that goal, of course they opened the gates for people to come out. So the Stretford end came out and came back in through the gates. So from my posh seats, all I could see was fucking bedlam, like police hats in the sailing over the crowd, like it was absolute. I mean, I was just looking at it, astonished. And the guy who ran the sports club took me by the arm and he walked me back to the bus. And he was angry as hell. And I tried to talk to him about it. And he wouldn't talk about it. Um, but that was a huge memory for me in the 70s. I actually ended up hating hooligans. By the time I was, I don't know, 18, 19, I used to go to a lot of matches on my own. I
You
mean,
were
I don't,
anti-hooligan, weren't you? You were
sorry, what?
fighting to stop them, weren't you?
You had to plan everything. You had to plan your route. You had to, where are the away fans coming from? Yeah. Don't wear colours. Don't have any kind of association with any team. It was ridiculous. You know, people would beat you up for no reason. And what annoys me most are these flipping videos that make out that it was all arranged and it was all like we just fought the ones who wanted to fight. That is the biggest bullshit there's ever been. They were bullies.
That's why you don't use Persil. You don't use Persil to wash your clothes anymore, do you? Because of that.
I'm not.
Oh, sorry, Persil, the soap powder. They made a massive thing in the mid '70s where if you bought Persil soap powder, you get tickets, and you could buy these tickets for trains, and that's how the Chelsea fans became the Chelsea Millwall traveling because you could buy tickets with your soap powder, and that's how that intercity thing started from London to Manchester, London to
I haven't watched since that Millwall documentary that Panorama did in the height of it. I haven't watched any TV or movie about hooliganism because I find all of it basically glamorizes and isn't really.
What Persil did was they said if you buy 4 packets of Persil, you get a train ticket. So these lads in London, they said, hang on, we can start buying Persil and we can get tickets away and we can start traveling. And that's when the problem started. Because before that was quite regional. It was like London fans fighting London fans. And
right.
And then it started this, that's why it's called the intercity. Because they bought intercity tickets for £2. They could travel all the way up to Manchester or to Leeds, which was the big thing for the London fans. And that's why they called the intercity firms, because of Persil soap powder. Anyway, we're looking at week 23.
Yeah. So we mustn't. We'll spend the whole allotted time talking about.
That's probably probably your pajamas were cleaned with Persil, and your mum didn't tell you. That's why she got these intercity tickets.
Yeah. What we can do is we just have a quick look at the last game week. Let's have a look at your team here. Can you see that?
I haven't looked at my team for a couple of weeks. Sorry if I'm bang on this. Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so not a bad game week for you. 70 points. The average was 55. So you got a green arrow. And are you still pursuing the one player from each team thing?
Yeah, it keeps me kind of amused. I wish I hadn't done it, but it's just the way it's got to go. But I will say this, and I'll say it early. I think it's all over. I think overpaid over the bar is over.
In what sense?
I think that Tom's won it.
You do? Okay. All right. Let's go to Tom. Can you tell me if you see Tom? See if you see the league. Do you see the league there?
Yep.
Okay. Tom is on 30 points more than me. And Piers is about 50 points behind him, 47 points. Have you seen Keith's rise in recent weeks?
Obviously, Keith's the only person I look at anyway. So it's actually between me and Keith. And
okay, right. So tell me.
I actually play overpaid over the bar. I've just played Jon Holloway versus Keith Hart. That's the only.
Okay.
My God, the man is amazing. Irritates me so much. Brilliant. Anyway,
okay. So here is Tom Crossland's team. Klopp.
Okay. Sells, top pick. Robinson, top pick. Gabriel, top pick. Hall, top pick. Guardiola, top pick. Salah, top pick. Luis Diaz, okay, questionable, but Palmer, top pick. Rodgers, Isaac, Wood, brilliant. He's just even got Clive on the bench getting himself 8 points. But, there's not a loop in there. And also, he's got about 2.5 million in the bank, I think, somewhere I can see. I can't remember what.
2.3.
I can't see a loophole in that.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned, it's over.
You think it's over? Okay, well that's a good shout. I would say there's plenty of game weeks to come. And I think the Forest thing the Chris Wood thing has definitely helped him.
But I'll just say something quickly, and very, very boring. What he's done really well is he's paired up So he's got Sells and Wood. He's got Hall and Isaac. He's got Salah and Diaz. He had Gabriel Jesus and Gabriel, but he's paired up. He's picked up the 5 or 6 best teams in the league, and he's picked up 2 from each, and he's just gone for them. And that's a brilliant thing.
So this week he can get rid of Jesus, who's injured until the end of the season, I think.
Okay.
And then who would he get in instead of Jesus? Let's have a look.
You know, he'll work it out.
He'd probably get in Visser or Jackson.
Watkins or whoever.
And he could afford Watkins. Yeah, that's my team.
We're just here to say Happy New Year and stuff. I'd say, well, well done, Tom. That's brilliant. That's well done, and it's all over.
Okay, I mean, the second half of the season produces a lot more points than the first half of the season.
Okay, you 30, 40 points behind him?
Yeah. So if we look at the fixtures
for the next game week or for the next game week?
This is game week 22.
Okay, so we're looking at 22. We've got Newcastle, Bournemouth.
I mean, Newcastle will win. Newcastle have won their last 7 games or 8 games. Or was it 9 games in all competitions, I think?
He's got Salah. He's going to captain either Isaac or Salah.
Yeah.
Well, he hasn't got any less.
Possibly Palmer at home to Wolves on Monday.
Who are you going for as your captain this week?
I haven't done it yet. At the minute, it's on Salah. And on a few weeks, I've left it on players I didn't mean to leave it on because I keep dithering. And I mean, I haven't really decided it's Salah, but it's on him just because Brentford's defense is very suspect.
Okay.
But he's been looking a bit tired. He's been looking a bit off it.
Yeah, you had him as captain last week, but he didn't. He got you nothing, and you actually had Isaac, didn't you?
Yeah, I was very lucky not to get a red arrow. I had a lot of players that returned apart from Salah. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you could go with Isaac. You could go with Salah. You could go with Cole Palmer at home to Wolves. There's another choice Chris Wood at home to Southampton. How do you think that game will go?
I think Southampton might actually get something from that.
Okay.
Actually, the thing is, this is actually a Southampton side that plays really well. It's not a shitty team.
No.
It's one of the best Southampton sides I've seen in one of the worst seasons ever, if that makes any sense. It doesn't make any sense. It's fine. It's all nonsense.
Okay, but then if we go forward to game week 23, the following game week, Man City are playing Chelsea. Newcastle visit Southampton. So Newcastle's fixture run doesn't get worse. Arsenal are at Wolves. But then in game week 24, we have the first double game week of the season where there's an Everton-Liverpool fixture that's been added to this.
Well, that was because of the snow thing, wasn't it?
Yeah. So for this one, people are going to be looking at 3 Liverpool players or 2 Liverpool players plus Arne Slot for the assistant manager chip.
Oh, what's that chip? Sorry, I didn't understand that.
Right. So there's a new chip. I was wondering.
Sorry, there's a new chip. Explain the new chip to me. I haven't seen the new chip.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I've been sat on a beach drinking coconuts and playing sort of beach tennis for a couple of weeks. I haven't realised that Slot is now a player that I can put in.
You can now buy a manager as well as a player.
Actually, I quite like that. I've got nothing against it. First time I've ever heard about it. I kind of like it. Tell me about it.
I'm trying. In game week 24, this chip will become available for the first time for the rest of the season. It's called Assistant Manager, which is hilariously being abbreviated by the content creators to ASSMAN. And if you get you choose a manager, and the manager's prices range from 0.5 to 1.5, not in 0.5 increments, so in 0.3 increments, I think. So on a slot, for example, costs 1.5. It does come out of your transfer budget, and you can't have three Liverpool players plus on a slot. If Liverpool win a game, you get 6 points, and if they draw a game, I think you get 4 points. I can't remember this, but they've thrown an extra thing in here that if you choose a manager, I mean, effectively a team, because even if your manager gets
Right. Okay.
gets sacked, you still keep it on that team. So if you choose a team that is 5 places below the team they beat or draw against, you get bonus points. You get 10 bonus points for a win, and I think 6 bonus points for a draw. So you could score 16 points for a win if you say go for let's say the Wolves manager on a day where they beat a mid-table team.
So you're looking for a shock result.
Yeah, and the other thing which is really nice
They
is
were called in Brazil a zebra.
yeah, that's so I
Looking for a zebra. I'm looking for a zebra.
so in the case, the other thing is that this chip doesn't work for one game week, it works for three. Okay. And in that three game
Three
week,
consecutive game weeks.
yes, 3 game weeks, you have the assistant manager in operation. Okay, they have to be consecutive. And
Where can
listen,
I buy him? I'm looking at the transfer section. I can't seem to buy that.
no, that's not available yet. It's available in game week 24. So
Oh, I'm excited.
from game week 24. Right now, the other thing is that um, during those 3 game weeks, you can't play any other chips. So if you can't suddenly play your wild card 2 weeks later. Yeah.
Okay.
So you have to bear in mind that once you played that chip, you won't be able to play any of the other remaining chips.
Okay. So
So
they're just
yeah.
complicated.
And the other thing is that you can.
Who is behind this? Who sits down and says, "I've got a great idea, guys"?
Well, it's getting a lot of flack from various people, but I think people just don't like change. I mean, I think it's quite a good idea, but I mean, let's see how it goes. I mean, I mean, there's going to be some.
There'll be before you know it, and they'll be introducing like video assistant refereeing. Do you know what I mean?
No, that won't work.
Oh, I know.
So the other thing, which I'm trying to tell you before I forget it, which you keep interrupting.
Because it's blown my mind. Because I can't believe you introduced this. It's actually something I've been thought of. I'd like to know about.
The other thing, the video time's going to run out. Our time's going to run out. So, is that you can change the club. You can change the manager during those 3 weeks. You can get rid of Arne Slot. You can have Arne Slot for the double game week, and then you can bring in. Well, let's see what's in game week 25. So let's look at game week 25, right?
Well, let's look at that.
So here you could bring in a manager that's playing someone. Well, Southampton are playing Bournemouth at home, right? Bournemouth are mid-table. So even in game week 25, Bournemouth are still going to be 5 places above Southampton. So you could go for Juric in game week 25 and score big bonus points if he happens to be. I mean, if he happens to.
So, guys, if you're listening, what I'm saying is get Juric in for your assistant manager chip for the next 3 game weeks because Southampton are going to get some points.
I mean, the other one is you could go for Brighton at home to Chelsea, although I'm not sure they're actually 5 places behind Chelsea. But if they happen to be in game week 25, they might get a draw in that game, which would get you more than a victory for Chelsea.
So I'd be looking at, if I was looking at you and right now, I'd be looking at maybe Everton or Wolves because they're teams who are in the bottom 3, 4, and are playing teams who are above them and who might actually be fighting to get out of that zone. So I'd go for like the Moyes.
I wouldn't go for Everton at Palace. I don't think they'll get anything. Or Wolves at Liverpool. But I know what you're saying.
So I'm saying you don't want to be using your chip as slot for your chip because you've got to be choosing a.
I mean, you have to look at that game week because by that game week there might somehow be a quirk where Brentford are 5 places above West Ham, which is not out of the question. Right. And West Ham are at home. So I think it's quite interesting, and it does favour the engaged managers. They're saying that The casuals are not going to benefit from this because it really does
The
benefit
casuals
me.
have got no idea what's happening about this at all.
Yeah, like you. So
I'm a casual. I'm a real casual as well. I've got, I wear polo shirts. So what I'm saying is, should you be choosing a team that is mid-table or bottom of the league in terms of that chip? Do you see what I mean? Probably better to be choosing a team that's bottom of the league on form. So someone like
yeah,
Everton would be good because
well,
you might turn them round. See what I mean?
I mean, you'd have to sit on them for 3 game weeks to see one win, wouldn't you? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the problem. And you might not get one. Whereas I think Arne Slot in a double game week against Everton and Bournemouth, you're kind of
Mm.
guaranteed 12 points out of that.
The other option is don't use the chip ever because it blocks you out for 3 whole weeks where you can't do anything.
Have you used your triple captain chip?
Um, I think I have actually, and I think I got nothing from it as always. I think I pretty had Haaland who got me a blank. I'm not really into the chips. I don't actually go around basing my squad or my team on using that chip at that point. At the moment, I'm thinking don't use a transfer for 2 or 3 weeks. Build up 2 or 3 weeks in the transfer. Get 2 or 3 weeks worth of transfers, and then keep that for when I use the second. Um, when I use the second. What do you call it?
Okay, you played the triple captain in game week 9, is the answer.
Yeah,
Uh,
when I get the second wild card, I like to have a second wild card, and then have 3 or 4 in the bank afterwards as well.
I mean, it made sense to play with that new chip coming in. It makes sense to get one out of the way.
Really,
Like the
easier
triple
now.
captain, yeah, because it's hard. But if somebody still does have triple captain, Salah in that double game week of Everton Bournemouth looks an absolute shoe-in.
But you famously used yours
Mm,
for Haaland, one. You got like
yeah,
100 points, didn't you?
in that week, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
in the second game week.
By the way, I'm just talking about your team in general.
Mm.
Are you confident going to this second part of the season? Are you?
Yeah, I honestly, I haven't liked my team until very recently. Um,
Okay.
and I got very lucky with captaincy early in the season and the fact that I got rid of Haaland when everyone still was captaining him.
Yeah, and you said at the beginning of the season, you said, "I'm getting out now. I'm getting out now," and everyone said, "You're absolutely crazy. You're absolutely crazy," and then you went 10 games without scoring. Brilliant. Well done.
Thank you. And I mean, I wasn't expecting that at all. I
No, I've
honestly,
never been nice to you ever. So
I honestly thought the difference would be much less than that. I mean, I didn't think it would be so great, but I made a lot of mistakes in that wild card when I got rid of Haaland. I had a lot of players that weren't good, especially defensively, but
mhm.
also missing out on obvious players. I mean, I resisted buying Chris Wood. A lot of bad moves actually.
Sure. But
Um,
you could take out Jean Pedro or Nicholas
yeah,
Jackson and
I
get
have
Chris.
money in the bank. I can sell Joao Pedro, get Chris Wood for tomorrow.
Yeah, that's done. It's easy.
Yeah. I'm looking at my team now. It's because of my team value. I can get a better team than most people. Um, so when it comes to the game week 24, I won't need to sell anyone to get on a slot for 1.5 million. I've got that extra money.
Right.
So I'm pretty happy, pretty positive. It's a little bit templatey right now in terms of Salah, Palmer, Isaac. It's like everyone's got them. Gabriel to some extent, but I mean he's less of a banker at the moment than the other three. I'd prefer it if it was a bit more kind of open. I'd prefer it if everyone was returning. Saka was still in the game and returning, etc.,
Okay.
etc. Because it just makes it more interesting. But this season for me is much more interesting generally than the previous seasons. I think there's a lot more options, especially up front. I mean, strikers, there's loads of them actually. Cheap,
Sure.
cheap, cheap
About
strikers.
six or eight you'd go for.
So, and winning the thing, obviously, I want to win it. Obviously, I spend ages thinking about trying to win it.
Mm.
Um, I'm not going to lie, but having won it last season, it's like I want. It's quite important to me that people enjoy the mini league. So there's a
Did
lot
you
of
win it last?
yeah. So there's a lot of people in the chat that are engaged in the mini league, and I created that chat, and I'm I'm kind of very happy that people are enjoying it. And when I put the video up, it gets 7 or 8 views among the people who watch it.
I
So
would never, I would never view that.
so it's kind of important to me that everyone
Yeah,
is happy in a way, as well as me. So I think if I win it again,
yes.
it's a bit.
Also, there are people who have wives and children and important jobs,
Yeah,
and who don't spend their time doing this.
yeah,
And then there are people like you who don't have wives or children or important jobs who spend all of their time doing this. So you need to remember that for a lot of people, it's just something that they do, on the side. And that's not to say that it's not valid. It is valid. But I also think that fantasy football for a lot of people is something that is just kind of like a part-time thing.
yeah.
And when I look at people like I think it's Liz as well. She's who I think is a brilliant, brilliant player. I noticed like she's well down this year. She's down in let's have a look. Liz Brown. She's well down this year, and I think has she sacked it off? Do you think there are people
She's
who
she
are
has
sacking it off?
she doesn't just have 2 children, she has 2 babies. One followed the other very rapidly.
Yeah, exactly. So you're looking at people who've got real lives and not fantasy lives. So
Yeah.
people like Liz, Jake, probably Paul, Freddie, Lincoln, Matty White, Rob Speak, maybe Craig this year. I don't know. Maybe he's found himself a girlfriend or something. And you think, if you look at the attention span that people have, I understand that. And that's why probably the game is trying to kind of introduce these new chips to get people, more
Engaged.
and a lot of people kind of aren't engaged because they feel that the game is too easy for people who are really into it and not enough. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I think anything based on
Like I'm looking at this now thinking Tom hasn't got a wife, kids,
he
or an
he
important job.
he had a very important job, but he did sell his company.
Yeah, and so he lost that. He hasn't got a wife, he hasn't got kids. That's why he's doing really well.
He has a wife and a child, um,
Or
and
had,
spends very little time on fantasy football compared to people like me, um,
or
or Craig. Me and
or
Craig, me and Craig
yeah.
spend the most time. After that, you got people like Robbie, Keith, who spend much more time than Tom does on it, I'm sure. Um, Piers is the same. He's got a very important job, and he's got 3 kids, and so he doesn't have much time for it either. But I think they have benefited from the WhatsApp chat in the sense of keeping
Right.
abreast of.
So what is this WhatsApp chat? I don't understand this.
So you were invited to a WhatsApp chat group.
Oh, I don't do WhatsApp chats, but anyway, tell me.
Exactly. So you didn't participate, but for the people on it, it has everything you need to know in terms of players that are available, unavailable, any extra news coming in about double game weeks, etc., etc. So like people help each other in terms of their teams. They'll even say, should I bench this player or this player? So we give each other advice. Not, I mean, sometimes people don't want to give advice, or they
Sure, I imagine that someone, terrible like Craig would not want to give any sort of inside information whatsoever.
Craig is the most sharing person on there, but
Sure, he's
sometimes,
not. Sure, he's not.
but most of the time he just wants to know what everyone else is doing. It's
Yeah,
not like, yeah.
I'm sure he's going to just.
Don't be nasty about Craig. He's going to watch this video. So
Nobody likes Craig. Everybody knows that.
what?
You sent me a message. No, thing is, I think it's good to have a group, but are you trying to help each other or not help each other?
Well, you're the sort of person that would immediately assume everyone's trying to fuck you up. That's what you base everything on. It's like your whole thing. So sometimes people say that to me in the chat. They say, "Oh, you said get this player, and you didn't get him in yourself, and that you were just
Hang
trying
on, so Isaac's out for 6 weeks.
to." So yeah, it's not. It's actually really friendly, really supportive, and people help each other when they're having a bad game week to be more realistic. And
Community.
yes, yes, yes. I know it's an alien concept to you, John, but that is what we do on the WhatsApp chat. Okay, so and it would be great if you're on there, but we respect the fact that you're not on there. It's great that you do the videos because then we can see you and they can get a taste of your charismatic personality. Uh,
Yeah, I agree with you, Ryan. I think it's good. And the more info, the better.
Okay. And I never sent you a message saying anything bad about Craig. So
No,
when
I
Craig
will just say
was
quickly. I will say something quickly. Matty White in 13th position, 89 points this week. Love that. Really, I really love to see
what
players down the
what
league.
excuse me, what is the Rio Rebels mini league that I was never invited into being a Rio Rebels player? What's that all about?
Yeah, what it is like there's a football team in South America, and it's just full of great players, and you were never invited to join that. Anyway, Matty White this week has got 89 points, and I really do like to see players lower down the league getting,
Did he
good.
discuss that with you or did he just invite you?
Oh no, the guys invited me, but they did. You didn't get the message.
No one invited me to that.
Okay, but it's nice to see players lower down the league getting, top scores because obviously the top players, you've got Toms and Ants and your Matts and your Piers and your Keiths and your Toms and your Tomohiro, who I don't know, but Edward Claddy, also love him. Johnny
Wow.
Wilson,
I
they're all
don't
good
even know
players,
who he
but
is.
they always get good scores. But then the players lower down the league, actually this year, especially in overpaid over the bar, if you scroll down this week's scores, you've got even the bottom player, 73, 80, 70. It's great scores. That's
Yeah.
quite a consistent league.
No, I mean
Another
up until Adam decided this season to do an anti FPL team, we had the whole mini league on 50% or above. Like,
Yeah, exactly. And that's brilliant. And just to finish, because it's really, really boring and you have a life, but I'll just tell you something. The overpaid over the bar this season, over the overall leader is obviously Tom with 1370, 1,370 points. Brilliant. If you skip through the months, August, who wins it? Antastical, Ant wins it in August. That's great. Okay, so that's the first person. September, who wins it? Oh, I won it in September.
oh,
Don't know
did you?
how. October, who wins it? Rob Speak wins it in October.
Right.
That's amazing. So we've got 3 different winners in the first, 3 months. Then we go to November. Who wins it? Tom Crossland wins it in November. Brilliant. I love that because that's like, that's the fourth, is that the fourth different winner?
And then in December, was it Craig?
Have a little look here. Hang on, my computer's obviously just dying on me. Have a look. November, December. Who wins it in December? Johnny Wilson wins it in December.
Oh, yeah, he's come up the league. Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that sort of thing. So you've had 4 or 5 different winners in, 4 or 5 different months. Have a look. Hang on. Who's leading in January? Obviously.
Okay. We have less than a minute or 30 seconds left.
What I'm saying is, it's been a variety of people who've done well this month, so each month. So that's really good. Someone just dominating it. So I think, although I do think that he's won it already, I think Tom's won it already. I think possibly it could be open.
Okay. Hedging your bets now. Okay.
No, not him. Sorry. Tom's won it, but I've enjoyed the fact that everyone's had a good month.
Okay.